Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 21 of the Fantasy Cast. I am your co-host, Lachlan McTagg, joined alongside me today again, as always, is Ty White and the full part-timer himself, Christian Hagath. I decided to bring back that nickname full-time because, I don't know, I just thought it was cool and fun. How are we doing, boys? How are we doing?
How you doing, Ty?
I'm doing good. I mean, it was a very exciting week of football. Really enjoyed that. I'm back downtown, so that's fun as well. There's not really too much to say. It's a good week of football. I'm upset that the Bills lost. Simple as that. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, I echo that. That was an unreal weekend of football. I'm back in Kingston. I was in Kingston to enjoy it all. Like, just unbelievable. And, happy to see some teams win. Not so happy to see other games go the way they did. But we'll get into that. How about you, Locke? How's your weekend?
I had a couple games this weekend. Unfortunately, I was injured. I strained my neck last week. Back to 100% now. All good. Everything's fine. But was unable to. Sorry.
Body's a temple. Quick recovery time.
Buddy heals like Wolverine.
Oh, jeez. No, it sucked. Like I couldn't play both of our games this weekend. We were on the road too. We were hauling up to New Hampshire. It was about like an hour 45. Played a game there. We lost that game. The team we played is pretty nasty. Then we went down just south of Boston. Again, about another hour and a half. Back-to-back days. We won that game. Snapped our little losing skid, which is nice. And we have no games now till February 3rd. So we got a lot of practices coming up. Weekend off this weekend, which is really nice. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the guy I'm billeting with, good friend Ben Goring, you guys both know him. We were driving back on Sunday, and we had ESPN radio going because we're lucky enough to have Sirius XM in the truck. So we were driving back from our game, and we were just cruising down the highway, listening to the Bucks. And when we started listening to the game, the Rams were still up 27-3. So we were like listening the whole way back, basically, and we were just listening to the Bucks just like creep up on the Rams, and like. As a Falcons fan, I'm like, oh my God, I've heard all of this before. And the announcer's like, yeah, like, I just think it's a little bit too out of reach right now for Brady. And I'm like, oh no, like these guys are just doubting Brady the whole time. It was crazy. And then obviously the game ended the way it was. It ended the way it ended. But we were on the highway, and the announcer's like, I think what happened? It was like the Bucks fumbled or something happened, and then the next play, the snap went like over the head of Stafford.
Yeah.
And then the Bucks recovered it or like there was like a back-to-back play where they just made some stupid errors. And then there was that penalty but it was deemed an ineligible hit because it was like the ball was dead or whatever, but it could have been like an automatic first down and like half the distance to the goal, and they dodged a bullet there. And yeah, it was anyway.
You're talking a lot about it. So let's just get into the game.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's
go in chronological order here first.
Let's do that.
Four.
I had a really bad week on picks wise. Really bad. I went 0-4. Let's start though with Christian's Bengals, because oh man, that was one heck of a game.
Listen. Like I told you, it's magic, and it wasn't really surprising. I was fortunate enough to catch, I believe, like the second half of that game. And correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it got a little interesting there, didn't it? Like, yeah. They had to kick a field goal to win. And I think going down the stretch, though, like seeing those plays that Joe Burrow was making, like that risky toss to Jamar Chase late in the game to put them in field goal position, I think that was like, he's earned his stripes now, and he's here to stay.
He's definitely here to stay.
Getting your first playoff win and like kind of earns your stripes, but I mean, this was a much bigger win.
Taking down the 1 seed, Like,
Yeah.
And you're playing in Nashville too, and it was a big game. Derrick Henry's back, but this was the one game I predicted right, and Christian and I said it last week. Henry or no Henry, I think they're gonna win, and they did. Burrow played an amazing game. Burrow, especially considering his offensive line, that it really showed.
yeah,
Dude, yeah.
Not drafting a right tackle in that game, it really showed, or any lineman, in the first round. But like, I think he might be one of the only quarterbacks to ever win a playoff game getting sacked 9 times. I mean, that is just unreal. Usually you do not come the other end if you're sacked that many times. But the connection between he and Jamar Chase is just so much chemistry there. They're doing so well. So I thought, Burrow deserved the win. And as a Chargers fan, I couldn't hate this AFC Championship match more. Burrow's in the same draft class as Herbert. I don't want to see him win games. And Mahomes there for a 4th time. I don't want to see that either. That's just my opinion on it. Locke, what's your
I picked the Titans, but I will say, like, I wasn't upset I got that pick wrong, because it's pretty cool to see Cincy go through and go on this run here. And I mean, oh geez, taking their chance against Kansas City. I mean, who knows? But how about the nerves on Evan McPherson though? Before he kicks it. Well, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship. Like, what?
Yeah, dude, I've been looking at like NFL jerseys. I want to pick up a new one, and I think I found it. I think Evan McPherson is that jersey.
Yeah, you're gassing the Jamar Chase jersey now. You're going Evan McPherson.
I've liked him for a while, since he's one of the only players on the Bengals teams I actually like, because he went to the University of Florida. He was a good Gator. I think he was a 5th round draft pick, that team, and that's fairly high for a kicker. Usually
they were criticized they were criticized pretty heavily for drafting a kicker, and then I remember the Bengals social media team came out after. It's like, that's why you draft a kicker. And I was like,
and he's the guy who did that Gatorade cap flip off thing where the ball he kicked it and the ball brushed by it and he knocked the cap off.
That was him.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
He's a great player, and he had ice in his veins, man. It's hard. He's like, this is way too early, but like, if he can do that for his entire career, it's like Adam Vinatieri level ice in your veins. I mean, he's doing very well. He's off to a great start.
No pressure, kid.
No pressure.
The second game of the day. I mean, this whole weekend just did disappoint. I mean, seriously. Niners visiting Lambeau against the Packers. So my take on that game was, I watched got home later on Saturday night after a game, turned on the game immediately. I watched basically the second half. Green Bay looked like they controlled that game the whole time, even when it was 10-3. It was like, oh, it's 10-3, but Green Bay's defense was stepping up big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And then all of a sudden that blocked punt happened, just fell apart.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do anything after that. It was the weirdest thing to see a team control the game as well as Green Bay did, have as little offensive production given the weapons that Green Bay has. And then one thing happens and then they're just completely shot for the rest of the game. It was crazy.
For sure. I think you'd be amiss to say that the entirety of the 49ers played well. I think their offense didn't score, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't get them into the end zone. Wasn't really much of a factor. And then, a few field goals and a bit of a strong defense, or a strong special teams play, my bad, kind of wins them that game. And it's just mind blowing. And like I said, I think the offense is going to have to get it together, because we know that, albeit the 49ers D is pretty good, I don't think they're going to be able to hold up the same way against the Rams offense the way they're going right now. So Jimmy G and his boys are gonna have to start getting it together a little bit.
For sure. It's a weekend of rarities. So I just mentioned, you get sacked 9 times, you win a playoff game. That doesn't usually happen. Your offense doesn't score a single touchdown, yet you win the game. That's rarity as well. The Niners, like you said, Lachlan, Green Bay played a great game defensively, but the commentators actually mentioned this before the game. They were saying this could very well come down to special teams because of problems and stuff like that. And they're right. I mean, friggin' you get a touchdown off a block.
I heard this, and apparently Kyle Shanahan said this might be the only game that they have the special teams advantage, because both teams in the regular season throughout the season have been terrible. Probably two of the worst special teams units in the league were facing off. Green Bay's had all kinds of special teams problems. Remember that Cincinnati game when they couldn't make a kick.
Yeah.
And the Niners haven't been spectacular in special teams either. But Shanahan's like, you know what? This is actually the one game that we might have a special teams advantage. And what do you know? They block a punt for a touchdown.
Yeah,
that was shocking when like seeing Rodgers leave the field in Green Bay, like that. Because last year was so heartbreaking for the Packers, right? Like losing at home in the NFC Championship to Brady off of basically 2 Kevin King pass interferences. Basically, like, and then because I remember that game that Brady got picked off twice in the second half or something like that, and Green Bay didn't convert on any of those possessions. And then, Brady marches down the field, gets a couple of mistakes from Packers defenders and walks out with the win. And then Green Bay in the offseason goes out and re-signs Aaron Jones, major part of that team. And Rodgers puts together another MVP-like season, and then it just ends like this. It's shocking.
Yeah. I think there was a clip going around from 2019. I don't know if you guys saw it after the 49ers knocked out the Packers back then. And the game was in San Fran, and Aaron Rodgers said to the media, like, we got to get one of these games in Lambeau. It's totally different when it's 20 degrees and it's snowing and stuff. Like, that's we're taking that all day. And then, 2 years later, it's that exact case. And yeah, it doesn't look great on him now. But
because the Packers, like earlier in Rodgers' career, the Packers always were on the road in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Like it was rare for them to ever host down the stretch in the playoffs. In the past 2 years, they've hosted 2 pretty big games and haven't been able to convert. It's a good point brought up there.
I'm pretty sure Rodgers before the game too, he posted a picture on his Instagram or something like that about the last dance. And it was like comparing himself to MJ. Like, here we go. So that came back to bite him in the butt. There's also that famous clip that went out. It was posted on almost every football page after the game where Gould, the kicker, and Jimmy G shared some words about the Packers, some profanity in there. It was kind of funny.
Dude, how about Robbie Gould warming up? Hey,
with
he was with the cheerleader, and just like, and that happened in the Cowboys game too, didn't it? Like they were literally like running out of the tunnel, and Robbie Gould was just
doesn't care.
Doesn't
give a damn, but clearly it worked out for him because he got a game-winning kick. That was crazy. That's one of the few times that Green Bay doesn't come back and win the game, even though you felt that they controlled the tempo the entire time at Lambeau too. Very disappointing. Let's go to Sunday. Well, first of all, Saturday, no games did a single team score over 20 points. That's weird. Very low scoring. But then you go to Sunday. It gets very exciting. Locke, you were talking about this a lot before. You have Rams and Bucks in Tampa Bay. This one, people were saying this could be, I don't know how much I trust that, Tom Brady's last game, potentially.
Doesn't he have another year in his contract?
He does, but I mean, he can very well step away if he wanted to. I personally think he's going to come back. But Rams took this one, 30-27, and a crazy one. I mean, I'll start off here. I mean, the Rams were dominating the Buccaneers the entire game up until the end, and the times and the score kind of lined up with that Atlanta Super Bowl scenario. And
very much for me it was a direct parallel to that game, except obviously the result was different.
Yeah, people were mentioning like if anyone was to do this, Tom Brady's the one to do it, and they got the turnovers they needed. They got the big defensive plays. I mean, they were doing very well, and Brady was he was doing well down the stretch, and he tied the game up, and his defense let him down at the worst possible moment right at the end. Fun fact, that was actually Jason Pierce-Paul's first ever playoff loss. He was 9-0 before that game, which I didn't know until I played. Yeah, which is pretty neat. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, actually.
Wow, that's shocking.
Yeah, but the more shocking is the end result. Very happy for Matthew Stafford, though. I mean, you got to give props. He played a great game.
So that final drive to get the field goal was essentially the drive of his life. That was probably the most important drive Matthew Stafford has ever played in his career. And he stepped up big time.
I'm still
Yeah.
questioning the Bucks defense on that play though. I mean, what the hell are
Yeah.
you doing? You
Sending all those guys like
you're covering one. You're covering what you have one guy on Cooper Cup who's the triple crown leader in the NFL for amongst receivers, and like he just that's embarrassing. That is comparable to like that. I think I remember last year the Jets like went an all-out blitz against the Raiders for some reason on the last play of the game, and the Raiders just threw it deep to Ruggs and they scored.
I remember that.
Like, what are you doing? Like you should be all over Cooper Cup. That's the one guy you cannot let loose, and of course they did.
When he caught that bomb earlier in the game too for the long touchdown as well. So it's not like that was just like one breakout play of the game. Like he was pretty dominant the whole time.
When you see Matt Stafford just chuck it up like that, like who's on the receiving end.
For sure.
And I remember a week ago today, we were sitting here discussing picks for the upcoming week. And you guys both went Bucks. And I just felt like being different. And I went Rams. And I was sweating for a long time there on Sunday. But Cooper
paid off in the end.
Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, Sean McVay too,
I will say though, I predicted Bucks in overtime. I said that this game was going to overtime.
Yeah, you did.
And if it wasn't for a lapse in judgment by the Bucks defense, that game would have gone to overtime.
That's a great point, actually.
And I want to mention a couple of things about that game. One, I don't think any quarterback in the league could have done what Tom Brady did that game. Even though people were looking at it as like, why is he doing so bad? He had no pass protection. The Rams
who was their right guard?
Yeah, what's his name? I know Tristan Wirfs wasn't playing, right? The right tackle,
and he was one of their guards was getting just torched in the second half.
I mean, like it was Brady played an awesome game in my opinion because he was getting the ball out. You had to get it out so quickly, and that's extremely difficult to do, especially when you're playing one of the most talented secondaries in the league with the Rams. So, the Rams played a great game defensively. That's what caused them to hold off Brady at least, but Brady did come back eventually, converted some big fourth downs. It was a very, very exciting game. All the games were very exciting. And then in my opinion, the LVP, like the worst player of the day, very disappointing was Cam Akers. He had 2 fumbles in that game, and one of them was a crucial fumble. Like you almost lost your team the game.
Oh yeah.
That was bad. Christian, I know, and Lachlan, of course, you talk fairly highly of him. He should have been a top 2 pick if he was healthy in fantasy football this year. Sorry, top 2 round pick is what I mean. He's a great player, and coming off injury, he played well the last week. I was very surprised that he coughed the ball up twice. Like
I remember the second time he fumbled. Like that we were listening to it on radio, right? And they make the call. They're like, oh, fumble, like balls come loose and Tampa's recovered. And I look at my friend, I look at Ben in the car, and I'm like, this is exactly the stuff that happens when teams play Brady. This like little mistakes, like you run it up the gut and you get the ball punched out of your hands. Like
And the second fumble too, if you watch it over, like I don't know what Akers was doing. He had no ball security. He was carrying that thing with one hand, running into 3 defenders. Like cover the damn ball. You almost lost your team in the game. I guarantee you, he won't do that again for the rest of his time in the playoffs because no running back can make that mistake twice, especially when he almost cost your team the game. But very interesting game to say the least. It was kind of sad to see. Like I've always hated Brady on New England, but I've been going to Tampa Bay for a lot of my life around Tampa Bay. I've always kind of liked the Buccaneers. I like him as a Buccaneer. He's not like the villain that he used to be over in New England. He's more of a likable guy down there. He's Tampa Tom, Tampa Bay. So a little sad to see him go, but happy to see, look back to that Super Bowl where he faced a lot of the players on this Rams defense, including Aaron Donald. And I'm sure Aaron Donald's really happy that he got back at the GOAT. I think this might be the Rams year, guys. I think it just might be.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Shall we get on to the main event of the weekend?
Oh. Yeah, let's do it.
We talk about heroes and villains, Ty. We got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes might be the biggest villain in the league right now. Just burning Bills fans' dreams. Locks hurting as I say those words, but man, it was a crazy game. Again, I think I just watched the second half and like enough action in there for half of a season at that. How'd you guys like it?
One of the games of the year, definitely.
One of the games of all time.
Yeah, it was. Oh gosh. Well, you know what? I'll let Lachlan go first because he's lived in Buffalo.
Oh
Right, so-
boy, that that was that was crazy in a lot of regards. I mean, the stuff that Josh Allen was doing that game was ridiculous. I mean, fourth down with your season on the line and you throw a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, Gabe Davis put that. Who was it? He put him on skates, man. That was
Yeah.
bad.
It was
That was
nasty.
so
The guy
bad.
fell down
That
during
was
the
so
route
bad.
too.
Well, because I remember we were watching it like literally on the couch, like right behind me here in my room here, and Josh Allen's like he had time and he steps up and I'm like, oh, we better have someone fairly open, and he slinged it and you see Davis just wide open. We're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, how's that possible? And then the touchdown throw over the middle was crazy. Yeah, and then just just when you think that they're good, you know, they
Yeah.
just when you think the Chiefs were good, because the I will say that Tyreek Hill touchdown was the second coolest catch and run I've ever watched in the playoffs live. First one being 2017 Julio against the Packers. I don't know if you haven't seen that clip, I highly
very
recommend
exciting.
you look at that. But that Tyreek touchdown run was insane. You know, a lot of people are questioning, oh, like how can you leave him that wide open? Like, oh, like how can you not contain him? Like the guy's literally a track star. Like it's tough when he goes laterally and you don't know which direction he's going in. He makes guys miss. And then the Bills, then Josh Allen literally went on the drive of his life again. You know, season on the line, literally for the second drive in a row, and tosses a touchdown. And then just when you think the Chiefs are out of it, what are your guys? I want before I go to my take on the last 13 seconds, I want to hear what you guys think about it.
Could I jump in there quick, Ty?
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
especially over the last like 5 minutes or so, I think what stuck out to me was how much harder the Chiefs D made Josh Allen's life rather than the Bills D, you know, in respect to
That's a very
Patrick
good
Mahomes.
point.
Because if you watched Josh Allen's drives, he was dealing with like 4th and 9 situations where he has to run and just barely get the first down and keep the drive alive in order to make, you know, one of those plays later down the line where he finds Gabriel Davis. Whereas Patrick Mahomes is just like slinging like 20 yards up the middle, 2 plays, you're in field goal range, you know, 61-yarder to Tyreek Hill. I think the Bills D, you know, they faced their fair share of criticism over the past 2 days or so, but yeah, you can't blame the offense for that one. That you got to be able to bear down there on defense.
Sure. I have a lot of thoughts about this game. First of all, I want to mention the Chiefs got into field goal range quicker than the Dak slide play. If you think about it, that was 14 seconds. The Chiefs took 13 seconds to get down. It was insane.
Yeah, suck it, game. Cowboys fans.
Yeah, suck that, Cowboys fan. I'm sorry, but just check and see if y'all still them boys, which you clearly aren't until maybe next year. But Josh Allen played virtually a perfect game because of good defense. I mean, the Chiefs defensively, especially Christian mentioned it, at the end, they really pulled it together. They made it hard on Josh Allen, but he's such a beast. He's so worthy to be there. I feel so bad for him. You know, you got a bunch of people talking about, you know, the overtime rules. Should that be changed? It's in no way an excuse. The Bills defense collapsed. They should have done something to change something. If that was the number 1 defense in the league, they certainly did not play like it in the last 5 minutes. But I think personally, I've thought this for a little while. You know, the rules should be different. They should change it to both teams get an offensive possession because, you know, some teams, it's like in a good analogy that I heard earlier today from a good friend of mine in baseball overtime. It's like having one team only allowed to pitch,
extra
one
innings,
team only allowed to hit. Yeah. It's the same. It's literally the same thing because some teams have a great offense, but a lackluster defense and vice versa. So it's very difficult. And I felt so bad for the Bills. I really thought they had it. But player of the game and the best, maybe arguably one of the best performances in playoff history. Gabriel Davis caught 4 receiving touchdowns. That's never been done before. Jerry Rice didn't do that. Randy Moss didn't do that. T.O. didn't do that. Nobody's done that. Only Gabe Davis. And he's like arguably a wide receiver 3 on that team.
Yeah.
3, 4 on that team, which is ridiculous. So
yeah.
You could see his expression after the game. He's just sitting out looking like that. Like, I felt really bad for them. It's disappointing.
It's pretty crazy because, I mean, Christian was talking about, how the Chiefs really made Allen work. And I will say this, though, the Chiefs bolstered their O-line quite a lot in the offseason. And I think we saw that come into effect a little bit because the Bills have really beefed up on pass rushers in the past couple of drafts as well. Because that was their big thing in last year's championship game. They didn't get enough pressures and blitzes done on Mahomes, and Mahomes just had too much time. Now this year they made it a little bit more difficult on him.
Sure.
Like he had to run around a little bit more than he did in last year's game. But still, I mean, I think the Bills were exposed a little bit in their lack of speed on defense. I'd say getting exposed by Kelsey and Hill. And you know what? It's a tough assignment for any team. It really is, because when they play that system perfectly with Andy Reid, it's virtually impossible to stop, honestly. And the Chiefs did a terrific job at just taking Stephon Diggs right out of that game. So that's why Gabriel Davis and Cole Beasley had Cole Beasley had a pretty decent night for himself. And obviously Gabe Davis had a pretty historic night for himself. But yeah. One
thing I want to mention quickly before moving on the other games too, I personally believe that everything happens for a reason. You look at, and this might sound funny, but you look at Michael Jordan, late 80s with the Bulls. They lost the Pistons 2 times and beat them the 3rd time, right? So this could be, I mean, next year, who knows? The Bills could get over that hump. I mean, I think they have the power to do it.
It runs through Arrowhead, It at this point it does. It really has to run through Arrowhead. And I'll give this up soon, but those 2 plays with 13 seconds left. The first one was a really good play call by the Chiefs because the Bills were rushing 3, dropping 8, had 3 safeties high, playing just really, really conservative and playing against the big play. And what they do, they just dump it off short to Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill just does the rest, because by the time the safeties come up and everyone meets him, he's already gained like 15 yards.
Yeah.
Great play call. The second one, they're playing Kelsey sideline. I get playing sideline, but you basically just want to play to, because essentially that the Kelsey play, they had 3 timeouts, but that was also probably the last legitimate play they could have ran without having to take an end zone shot. So I don't know.
And it was the right play. The chemistry between those two is insane. They talk about it a lot post game as well. So, I mean, good for the Chiefs. The rest of the league, like Christian said, they're the villains of the league. No one really likes them. It's like when Golden State was getting too good. Everyone was like, okay, it's time to stop now. But very disappointing.
Look where Golden State is again now.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Patriots were always the villains of the league for a while.
Yeah.
If you were a non-Pats fan.
Yeah.
As for overtime rules, though, I'm undecided on it because people seem to forget that this happened to Mahomes 4 years ago.
Yeah, and they did appeal the rule. They did send, but like this, it just in scenario. One thing, sorry, I want to mention one last thing before we go on to conference championships. Under the same rules, all the teams who won the coin toss in the playoffs they have 10 wins. The teams who didn't have 1 win. The 1 win that the team did not win the coin toss was the controversial Rams-Saints game when Roby Coleman completely decked the Saints receiver. So in that game probably was going to go to the Saints, to be honest with you. So it should be 11-0 of teams who win the coin toss end up winning the game. And that is a big indicator for me. I think you should have a rule change. I sincerely think they have to look at that. Yesterday was just more fuel to the fire.
Maybe not college rules, but
not college rules.
I heard a good one though, where it was like if you score a touchdown and then score a 2-point conversion, then the game's over. But if you kick the field goal, then
that's neat. At least you could look at something,
which is
like
neat.
that.
But at the same time, it's like which it would be a little easier to score a 2-point conversion,
Mm,
right? Like, I don't know.
sure.
I don't know. I'm pretty undecided because it's happened to a lot of teams in the Brady and Belichick era.
Mm.
You know, they go to playoff overtime, win the coin toss decide the season. Basically,
For sure.
it sucks, but I don't know if this is kind of like the straw that breaks the camel's back on that rule. I don't know. That's not really for me to decide.
What an analogy. But
Yeah.
let's enough of the depressing Bills stories. We'll get it moving on to our picks for
Yeah.
conference finals week. I want to hear the conference championship picks, starting with you, Locke.
Oh,
First game for you, Lock. Bengals, Chiefs.
you know, as much as I like loved this Bengals run, I just think the Chiefs are playing too good of football right now. They're stronger. I don't know. I think Frank Clark is going to have his way with that Bengals O-line. I think the Chiefs defense is going to be pretty dominant on the pass rush. Burrow's not going to have a lot of time to find receivers. And I think that the Bengals defense can't handle Andy Reid and his play calling scheme. I'm going Chiefs here.
I agree. Burrow is not. He's ready to win in Nashville, which is not a hostile environment. Wait till he gets to Kansas City for playoff time. I mean, that's going to be a rowdy crowd. They're ready to see Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl again. I think they're going to do it. I don't think this one's going to be close to be honest with you. I think it's going to be at least a 2, maybe 3 score game by the end of it. And I think Burrow gets simply outplayed. I don't think he's ready to win this kind of game yet.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to sit here and say Bengals, but gonna have to go Chiefs.
Come on.
This is what I predicted from the start. I predicted a Chiefs Bengals AFC Championship, and I predicted the Chiefs going on. So I'm gonna stick with the initial prediction. I'm taking Chiefs on this one. Lock NFC Championship, Rams, Niners.
Week 18, the Rams blew an 18-point lead against the Niners. Kyle Shanahan has had Sean McVay's number of late. I think in the last 3 or 4 games. I may be wrong on that, but that doesn't matter. None of that matters because this is the Rams' time. Again, they can beat any team in the NFL if they want to. This Rams team is just too primed. Matt Stafford's playing too good of football. Too many questions as well. We don't know how healthy Deebo Samuel is. There's no way he doesn't have broken ribs after getting popped in that Green Bay game, right? Like, and without him, they don't have much offensive production unless Jimmy G really steps it up. I will say though, I'm a bit hesitant to pick the Rams, obviously, because Jimmy G has led a decent, like a mediocre offense to the Super Bowl in the past. There's not much to say that he won't do it again, but I'm going Rams.
Ty.
So this is an interesting one. I think it's gonna be a great game. And this is, if you look to the Bucks Rams game, Rams beat the Bucks 2 times. And it's rare that a team can beat a team 3 times within the same season. I didn't think at first, but giving it more thought, I actually think the Rams right here, I'm calling it right now. Rams are going to be the Super Bowl champions. It's never happened before that. So last year you had Tampa win in Tampa. You're going to have that back-to-back for the second time in NFL history where the Rams are going to win at SoFi. I sincerely think they are. This defense is too good. It's simply like it comes down to that. The defense is so good, complemented by, of course, their incredible offense. I think OBJ is going to get his first ring. I think Stafford's going to have a great game. And we saw last game. I mean, you did not have a great the Niners did not have a great offensive performance. I'll give that the weather was cold and stuff in Lambeau. It's a tough place to play. However, I mean, this Rams defense is so good that you can't come and perform like that against them. I think they're going to shut them down. I have Rams winning this one pretty comfortably in the end. I'm pretty confident about that pick. Hagen, what about you?
Yeah, I'll second pretty much everything you said. I think the Rams are too good on both sides of the ball. I'm taking Rams against the Niners. And yeah, I kind of do agree with you. I think if it is a Rams Chiefs final, I'm favoring the Rams a little bit, but that's still 2 weeks away. So
yeah, and I don't think I can speak for all. I don't think anyone wants to see a repeat of the 2020 Super Bowl between the Chiefs and 49ers. No one wants to see that, especially me. I don't like. Like I
was
said,
lame.
AFC Championship is garbage. Like I don't know who I'm rooting for. I guess maybe Mahomes since he's already been there. I don't want to see Joe Shiesty pull off a W in KC.
I would
mean,
love to see that. I would love
That'd be pretty cool to see, but I understand because of Herbert and whatnot. You're just
yeah. Of course, I'm biased, but I mean, he's a great player, and best of luck to him.
I
All
mean,
right, lads.
yeah, boys, we're either collectively going 6-0 or 0-6 this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Sure.
so
Or we
a
can
lot
go
of
3-3.
risk.
We can
Oh,
go
yeah.
3.
A lot of risk reward factor going on here. That just about does it. I think we've covered everything that needs to be covered for this past week and this week coming up. This has concluded episode number 21 of the Fantasy Cast. Great weekend of football coming up, AFC and NFC championship games. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football, and we will see you guys next week.
Adios.